Hey Fred, we got a couple of questions here, Q&A from everybody that sends us some stuff. And first question is from Lisa in New London, Connecticut. And she says, hey Fred, what is your recommended dosages for the Spirulina Chlorella nuts that we recommend on the website? What's your thoughts on that, please?
Well, you could just about take as much, all the way up to 70 or 80 of them. It depends upon how you want to use them. If you're using them just as a supplement in your diet, you can take 10 or 20 of them. It's not a problem. But if you're using them as your main source of protein, you can take, and if you're exercising, you can take up as many as 70 or 80 a day, dividing them up into 3 different portions. They really can't hurt you in any way. There's anything wrong with them. I don't recommend that you sit down and eat them by the hundreds. That's not the answer, but 10 or 20 just as a supplement is fine, even less. 1 or 2 is better than none, but 10 or 20 is fine. If you're an athlete and you want to use them as a good source of protein, you can take all the way up to 70 or 80 of them, divided up into 3 dosages.
Great, well thanks Fred. Also, we do have the green powders on there. I know the tablets we put on there for the road, but the green powders are always on there, and you always speak about making sure you do different greens every day or every other day, not using the same greens. So what is your general mechanics and organization about green powders when you use them?
Well, I believe Spirulina, Chlorella, blue-green algae, who's a lot of people are, there's some bad press out there about blue-green algae, and I've been up there on Klamath Lake. I've been out on the lake to the harvester and everything, and I've used it. I still use it. I can't see anything wrong with it. It has no microcystin in it. There's many different types of algae. This is a perfectly safe algae. The lake everything is processed out there on Klamath Lake, and blue-green algae is another great superfood. I recommend people use them all. What I do is I use them as just like you would eat apples, pears, and bananas. I eat a variety of different food from day to day, and I eat a variety of different superfoods. I believe variety is the key to getting everything where you don't have to use supplements. Now, I have a friend of mine that's been a vegetarian since he was born, and he's in his 70s, and he went through a period there where he had a B12 deficiency. He had tingling in his fingers, and he absolutely refused to take a pill. So I told him to try taking the blue-green algae. Well, believe it or not, his B12 came up into the normal range. So that's one case where I actually seen the blue-green algae do that. So eat a variety of different super green foods. They're all good. You can mix them together. I like to mix them together. I put them in my blended salads and my smoothies. Sometimes I put a teaspoon in the juice. You don't have to overdo these things. I think a lot of people make a mistake and overdo a lot of the things they're doing. Once your body gets relatively clean and you're on a raw diet, a vegan diet, or if you're eating a minimal amount of animal protein, you don't need a lot. The more you use, the more you're going to need. You want to get down to the point where you need very little of it. You just want to make sure you got all your parameters covered so you don't run into a deficiency. The key is you want to be in this for the long run. You want to be in this, be able to do it when you're 60, 70, 80, and 90 and on up. Where a lot of people have failed, if you just look at the history of what's happened in the vegan raw food movement, you want to look at who was not successful. Where are all the people that lived to be 90 and 100? There aren't too many, if any at all, people that were really doing this. Now, does that mean it can't be done? Absolutely not. I believe this is the way to go. You have to remember what you leave out is the key. Once you develop the discipline and you stay within your parameters, as the years go on, you're going to age slower. You're going to maintain your health. You're going to keep all the things going that you want to keep going. But if you're all over the place and you're into some kind of a diet where you're not getting a variety of different foods, then you might run into trouble. Now, I'm not leaning towards one specific type of way of eating. I don't believe, it's very obvious that everybody is different. So you can't give any one statistic, one amount of food for everybody. It just does not work that way. There's too many variables in human chemistry. Are you exercising? Are you a lot of stress? How many meals a day are you eating? You just can't say everybody should eat, 10% this, 20% that. I just don't believe that. It doesn't work. So many people have failed in that type of thing, plus you really don't know what people are doing. So I'm not a dogmatic guy. If you're following a specific diet and other people don't agree with you and you're doing well and you're aging well, by all means, that's the diet for you. But remember, after 10, 15, 20 years, 25 years, that's where things, 10 years, a lot of people, when they're doing it the first 3 or 4 years, they think that's the answer. Well, it doesn't work that way. I ran into a person the other day was saying something, and it was very obvious they, only been eating a raw diet for a couple of years. What I really wanted to say is, call me up in 35 years and let me know how you're doing. Because it's the long run that counts. And we want to be consistent. We have the information available now to live a long, healthy, vital, and alive life, to be able to function into the advanced years. I just was watching a show on television yesterday. I mean, to me, it was kind of sad what this internationally known person was saying about, what people with diabetes should do. I mean, I'm just hoping and praying that as time goes on, that I do live to see the day when all this information will be common information available to everybody. It's on its way. That's what's happening now. But I think we've accomplished a lot. When I say we, I mean everybody. I'm not talking about myself. A lot has been accomplished, but there's still a way to go. And we're up against, people are up against the money machines that want to keep you entrenched in putting money into their pocket. So keep your eyes open, listen to everybody, then make your choices, read as much as you can, be very careful about what you see on the internet. Watch out for these people that will sell you the Brooklyn Bridge on the internet because, the Brooklyn Bridge is getting very old and it could, one of these days if they don't fix it, it might collapse. So that goes with some of the old information that's been recycled. I see some of the same confusion that existed 50, 60 years ago. Nothing has really changed. Nothing has really changed. It's still the same confusion. And, the only thing in the internet is out there. The internet, when I was a young guy, there was no such thing as an internet. So now information travels so fast and anybody can get on the internet, put information on the internet, do a minimum amount of research off the internet, write a book and put that on the internet. So be very, very careful is all I could say. And make sure that you take all the factors into consideration. How long you want to be doing this should be the rest of your life, the social ramifications. You don't want to divorce your wife or your husband and your children and move to Ecuador or go to Costa Rica or move some remote place to live this pristine life. I've seen people do that. Also myself, I've seen one guy go to Ecuador and come back on a stretcher. So watch your step and what you're doing here. And best of luck. Good luck to everybody. And if we could be of service to you, we want to be of service to you.
Great. Thanks for that follow-up, Fred. Second part of that question, Michelle from Facebook asked a very specific question. Why do people, when they take Chlorella, do their bowels become hard?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't seen that happen to too many people, but I really don't have a specific answer. But what I would say is to make sure, besides taking the Chlorella, that you're hydrating yourself, that you drink some vegetable juices, make sure you're getting enough liquids into your diet, and to make sure that your intestinal flora is where it should be. Because when you start taking some of these things, if you don't have enough intestinal flora, you could have bowel changes. People do have bowel changes when they go on a good diet. There are people that change their lifestyle initially that are moving their bowels. When they go into a lifestyle, temporarily they might have some constipation or some diarrhea. So I really don't have a specific answer to that question because I haven't really seen it happen. I would have to do a little research or think about it. But I would say the obvious answer is to try to drink more water. Unfortunately, a lot of people are being told that if you're eating a raw diet, you don't need water. Well, that's what I originally thought, but that turned out to be the wrong information. That's for sure. Whenever I get up in the morning before I go out and do my exercise, the first thing I do is drink 16 to 20 ounces of water, and 15 minutes later, I have the energy that's coming from the previous night's meal, and it initiates a bowel movement. So when I go out there on an empty stomach.
Great. Well, thank you, Fred. Appreciate that. This is just part one of Q&A. Just roll right into part two. We'll be back in 1 minute.